Hi, everybody. I'm Mike, and this is Mike Miller Talks Life. Today's quote is never underestimate the power of influence. Everyone is under the influence of something or someone. I can remember when I was in school early, when I was a child, trying to be like other kids who I thought were popular. I would say what they said. I would try to dress sort of like what they were, how they were dressing. I'd try to act like them. And long before I realized it, I was being influenced by these people and how I lived my life, how I approached my life. As my educational career continued, I was influenced by certain professors I had in how to think and what to read. And as my mind was being developed, these professors played a very important role. I began to realize the power of influence. Everybody is under the influence of something or someone. I think we need to be influenced. I think we're sort of designed to be influenced because we enter this life as a package with gifts and talents and abilities and interests. And we need people to come along and help shape us and move us in a healthy direction. We're influenced by what we view, whether it's television or movies or YouTube videos. We are influenced by who and what we listen to, podcasts or music, what we read, who we associate with. Show me your friends and I can show you your future, some people say, because they understand the power of influence. John Ron says we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, because people rub off on us. They influence us, and we are in fact influenced by something or someone our whole life. Dorothy Law Nolte said about children, if children live with criticism, they learn to condemn. If children live with hostility, they learn to fight. If children live with fear, they learn to be apprehensive. If children live with pity, they learn to feel sorry for themselves. If children live with ridicule, they learn to feel shy. Horace Mann, a great educational reformer, said those who exert the first influence on the mind have the greatest power. Those early years of all of us are so important because we are so vulnerable to influence. We're watching and listening to everybody, and it's so important. Influencers play a major role in shaping our character, our values, our beliefs, our attitudes, our behavior, our work ethic, how we think about ourselves and our life, how we treat other people. Influence, so powerful. We are influenced inadvertently. When we don't really realize it, we are being influenced. We realize it later. We hear ourselves and we think, where did I get that accent? Where did I pick up that phrase? Or somebody else notices and said, hey, you're sounding just like, and they'll say somebody. Inadvertently, people have rubbed off on us. We are influenced intentionally, not thinking in terms of people who intentionally plan to influence, that's true, but intentionally meaning we choose who will influence us. I chose to be under the influence of certain teachers and pastors along the way as I was preparing to be a pastor and while actually doing the job of pastoring. I like their style. I like how they taught. I agreed with what they taught and how they lived out their faith. And what they were doing resonated with me because it's what I wanted to be and do. And I chose to spend time with them or to listen to their teachings, observe them. I chose these influencers. We choose to be influenced all the time. I find it's always interesting. Well, for me, I like music. So if I'm hearing an interview with a musician, I always am interested with hearing who had the greatest influence on them as they were developing their talent. Always fascinating. And if you listen to musicians, a lot of times you can hear hints of other musicians who have had an influence on this musician. And I just find that interesting. It's not like copying somebody. It's this musician influenced them. Art, same way. Who influenced you? You're doing your thing, but who had an influence over you as you were learning, starting out? Our photography. There are some great photographers out there, and every one of them is influenced by someone in some way. It might be in a small way, how they do color or what I don't know anything about it, but parents are influenced by other parents, how they do what they do. Parenting is one of the toughest jobs, and you find yourself baffled many times as you're taking this little person and trying to raise them into a responsible, healthy adult. How we do our job. I met many law enforcement officers when I served as a chaplain, and I was always fascinated to hear them talk about who influenced them and how to be a cop. It was fascinating because they all had somebody or a few people who had really had an influence in their role and how they did it. How we live out our faith. If you're a person of faith, who influenced you? If it's Christianity, we've all been influenced by our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But who else helped shape how you believe and how you live out your faith? It's always a good question. Who and what shapes you and how you do what you do? We have influence over other people by what we say, how we react to life. Joseph Wong, in his work, Power Science of Influence, says, influence is our inner ability to lift people up to our perspective. We don't control people, but we certainly influence them. If you're a parent, you have great influence over your child. You are the primary influencer for a long time until they go off to school, unless you choose to homeschool them. And I think parents need to really let this sink in, really understand this. Many times they lapse into not really getting it, or one of the two parents. We are the ones our children look to. We're teaching them what to say, how to walk, how to catch a ball, how to eat. We're teaching them these basics that are really important, but they're also learning how you react, what you say, how you unwind, what you do when you get mad, how you treat your spouse, how do you balance work and family time. They're observing 24/7 what you're like when you get up in the middle of the night to respond to their cry. They're watching, they're observing. It's resonating with them even before we know they're capable of watching and learning. They're like a sponge. We also have influence, that ability to lift people up to our perspective, other than our child. If you're a parent, our spouse. Spouses have tremendous influence over each other. our friends, our employees, sometimes people we don't even know. You'll hear after the fact that you had influence in their life, and you're thinking, do I know you? What are you talking about? That came through to me many times as I served as a pastor, when I would encounter people and they had been influenced, thankfully in a positive way, by something I said or did. And I was just like, wow, I don't even know you. I didn't even know you existed until this very moment. And it was such a lesson of be careful with your influence. People watch, people listen. Everybody has influence over somebody, and it's important. Clint Eastwood, that great philosopher of life, says, it takes tremendous discipline to control the influence you have over other people's lives. Being an influencer is a powerful position to hold. Musicians, athletes, coaches, teachers, doctors, on and on the list goes of people who have influence. And many resist being identified as a role model. Or I've heard many musicians or athletes, when they've been told, you're a role model to these children, what do you want these young children to pick up from you? And a lot of times they'll resist that. I'm not a role model. I don't want to be that. That's not my job. If they see me do something and they copy that, that's on them. It's not on me. That's not totally true, because they do have influence. And I think that's a powerful role to have. And I think we need to be really careful how we influence other people. Never underestimate the power of influence. It's bigger, has a much broader effect than we realize. Be careful who is influencing you. We've seen that we will be influenced and that we need influences in our life. We need to be under the influence of important people, significant people. They'll help bring out the best in us. I think we need to pick our influencers carefully. And that's on us, to shop around, to look around at people. King Solomon says, he who walks with the wise will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. The importance of influence is there, but also the responsibility of each of us choosing who we're going to allow to have an influence in our life. I think it's helpful to look at your life and ask, where do you want to go? In this life you have, where do you want to go? What do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish? How do you want to handle life when it throws crazy things your way? Sometimes we think only super achievers or famous people ask those kinds of questions. I think everybody should. I mean, you're going to go somewhere in life. Where is that? And you're going to be something in life. What do you want to be? You're going to accomplish something in life, whether it's just raise a solid family, provide for them. What is more important than that? And you're going to have to handle life when it throws crazy things at you. So why not think about that ahead of time? I mean, if you don't come up with some direction of what you want to be, you'll just be knocked around and you'll do whatever. So I think these are great questions to mull over and to think about. And somebody has suggested that we identify the people you spend the most time with and then ask yourself, do they match what you want out of life? And if they don't waste any more time hanging with them. And then ask yourself, who are the top 5 people? Who are the top 5 people who embody the qualities that you desire? Just the top 5 that embody qualities you desire. And just begin to think about. And when you come up with these, I mean, you don't have to have a bunch of people, the top 5. And then ask yourself, how can I be under their influence? If you can get to know them and spend a little time with them, great. But if you can't do that, how can you read what they've written? How can you listen to their podcasts? And let their influence in your life begin. Be you, be yourself, but use their influences to push you in the right direction. Never underestimate the power of influence. The influence that you have over other people. Don't underestimate that. You are influencing, shaping, moving people in a direction. Don't take that lightly. And don't underestimate the influence people have over you. Pick your influencers and pick them carefully. Never underestimate the power of influence. It's way bigger than we think. Hey, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully something's been said that kind of makes you think a little bit, challenges you to move in a little bit better direction. Or you've got a couple of things you can share with somebody else. If you like this, I hope you'll click a thumbs up or subscribe or share it with somebody that might benefit from hearing something from this or other YouTubes I have. So until next time, I hope you have a good week and you have a healthy week as you move forward now as a great influencer of someone. Hey, thanks.